Well, hello there, my friends, and welcome back to 15-Minute Free Thinking. It's been a few days. It's been a few weeks. I haven't uploaded one of my podcasts in a while, and I've been on a little bit of a hiatus. I've been making them, but going through various mental challenges, life challenges, which may seem very trivial in the big picture, we find ourselves kind of backing away from certain aspects of our lives. And for me, it's always been making videos and podcasts. And I will go through phases of uploading, then not uploading. And this particular podcast is an important topic to me. And I felt like I had to tackle it in two formats, the video and the audio. And it's about truth. And this word truth is something that I don't even like using that word because it's so tainted and so polluted at this point that it's hard to take anything seriously that people believe as truth. We have a long history of people believing very stupid things. Let's be honest. People will believe whatever they're told to believe, as long as the person who's telling them is convincing enough. Historically, this may have been useful. If you look to the experts, for example, in ancient times, you're going to go to a blacksmith if you need to get, your armor fixed. You're going to, go to a farmer if you need to get some food. There are basic expertise and various, bases of knowledge that create an expert level. And as we move forward in the 21st century, we find that many of the experts, as could be in the past, the alchemists that were hired by the kings could often manufacture fake gold to pretend that they were making gold in order to convince them to keep them on board and keep paying them. It's no different than today. Much of the truth behind science and the scientific discoveries, breakthroughs, whether it be medicine or food or otherwise, somebody's always pointing the finger at others as the problem or the culprit for disease or for an illness that's caused by, some particular item. In other words, there's no accountability, and truth can be easily bought, is what I'm getting at here. Truth can be paid for. And if somebody with enough authority says something, people believe them. Now, this person may not necessarily be menacing. They may be misinformed themselves, but it happens nonetheless. And we are none the wiser as the general populace because we trust in these experts to give us the, quote, truth. Now, I want to make something really clear here. It's, first off, whether you're watching the video version or listening to the podcast version, I guess there's going to be different, approaches to discussing these topics. But at either end, if you want to support the channel, please do visit me on Patreon at Carpo719 and or through PayPal. And I appreciate all of my patrons, and I haven't had any editing software. I just wanted to note this really quick. In a while, I have to buy a new editing software, so I haven't been able to edit it in any of the names. I'm hoping that YouTube Mobile eventually gets some form of editing in, like end credits, that kind of thing. Because I'm not a savvy YouTuber as far as overloading my videos with background music and bullshit. I wanted to get into this little discussion about background music, but I'll save that for later. It had to do with some of the greatest philosophies and truth tellers in history have had such an amazing longevity to their discussions that have been carried on. Alan Watts all the way back to Siddhartha, and that's just Eastern mysticism, of course, but many different prophets and people who have been looked up to through history. They'll take these audio recordings or readings of these people's work and then throw background music over it as if it needs some inspirational music. Good words sing for themselves. In other words, a great speech does not need music because it is music, because of the way it is carried, the cadence, the emphasis. But that very cadence and emphasis can be used nefariously in order to dominate a conversation or to claim authority on a topic you may not understand, as well as you claim to understand. When we talk about truth, we need to define this word. First off, for example, I've got a knife over here, okay? It's a buck knife. It's got a leather sheath that was hand sewn, I guess, or maybe machine sewn, whatever. Little button snap, and it's just a standard blade, right? It's marked with the type of the blade. It's a 192C stainless steel. It's got a wooden handle, brass pommel, and it looks like a little piece of plastic or something as a cushion. It's a very simple knife I'm holding in my hand. Fixed blade. And nobody's going to argue that this is a knife. There's a truth to be told. Everything I just told you is the truth. You may be able to argue, oh, well, it wasn't hand sewn, it was machine sewn. You see what I mean? There are certain things, but the fact is, it's a leather sheath, it's a knife. And these are the truths that are completely different. These are the physical and self-identifying truths, obvious truths. But then there are the more subtle truths. Maybe the history of knives. Where did knives come from? Or who held the first knife? Who made the first knife? We don't know these things. So there are some non-evident truths that do exist, but that we will never know. And for every one of those bullshit truths, even the ones that don't matter, there will be somebody who will tell you they know that truth. So let me rephrase this. There are many things that we can never know. But there is not one of those things that we can never know, that there's not somebody out there trying to tell you they know. And this is most evident within spirituality, religion, and anything having to do with basically either interdimensionally, dimensions beyond our own, realities beyond our own, worlds beyond our own in space, or heaven itself, right? We have people claiming they can channel aliens from another planet. We have the Pleiadians, right? We have people who claim to channel God, people who claim to channel, every different God you can imagine has been channeled by someone according to them. And this is their reality. This is what they believe, their truth. If they're very convincing and they seem to be on top of their game, people will believe that truth. So there becomes kind of a religiosity in people's bullshit and what they're willing to believe. Life is funny. Or at least it should be. We shouldn't be angry at each other. We shouldn't be angry at ourselves. We shouldn't spend very much time in self-depreciation, nor depreciation of anything else around us. In other words, if we do spend too much time focused on the negatives of the outer world, that's on us, not on the world. If you live in a place where your life is so horrible, then that you can't even think about anything else, then it's time to get out. It's time to get away from that. But the reason this is important is because a lot of people are living in difficult lifestyles, let's say. And because of this, they build often a resentment towards the world and a resentment towards truth. Truth, as I mean, things that we learn that we know are facts. And the less educated that we are on every topic, the less educated we are and roundly educated on various topics, the less we will be able to identify the truth. And I've discovered, my friends, just like the rest of you have, the truth is very important to people. And even if it's not important to everyone, it's important to enough people that they are willing to stick their necks out and claim to everyone else that they know what's true. And if we aren't armed with the right information, we won't be able to identify what's real and what's not. And this is becoming more and more difficult. And as artificial intelligence, and not to, bring this in too much, but AI is creating deep fakes, and people, rather, are using AI to create deep fakes. They will be able to fake your voice, your face, everything else, and make claims that people are saying things they aren't. This is just one example. If you aren't aware of a person's status or actually informed on a topic, you might fall for these things in the future. We might all. It's bad enough that we fall for individual people and their lies about what somebody said, but to think that we could see somebody say something that they never said, oof. Susie sells seashells by the seashore that she didn't say, but people say she said. Oh man, what a weird world. I think that we need to be able to navigate this life with a little bit of knowledge and information about the world, about our particular situations. And the reason this isn't happening is not because the information isn't available, but more often because the information that we need, the pertinent information, is obscured. And it gets into the realm of conspiracy theories and holding back knowledge from the public. It's, to me, never been even a conspiracy theory. I've always been aware that the government and various, not even the government itself, but rather operating on behalf of various corporations and entities, will spread the propaganda on their behalf in order to fool people like you and I. That, as much as it sucks to say it, there are people out there that are in charge that don't give a fuck about you or your life, or any of you except their own little tight circles of people. Think about it. Do you care about them? Really? You think about the way that people talk about politicians and how little they give a fuck. Now consider the way that they might view you. It's going to be even worse. They are the inner circle. You are just the, quote, people. And, it gets into this realm where people think, well, everybody's just too suspicious. No, the thing is, I don't need to be suspicious. I don't look to my government for authority on topics. I don't look to government experts or government paid spokespeople in order to gain my information on knowledge on topics. They are so far behind. I mean, look what happened during COVID. So, moving on, if you really want the truth, I think that the bigger question would be why? What is it that you're trying to gain by knowing things that you didn't previously know? And that may seem like the most simple and basic question, and it is. But if you go into a topic, if you're like me, you'll go in and hear something and be like, is that true? And you'll start researching. Next thing you know, you've spent all day looking at articles, and every little while then you'll get more articles, and you'll be spoon-fed more videos because of the algorithms. And next thing you know, you feel like an expert. Well, that's, of course, the Dunning-Kruger effect at work, but you may start to see things differently. It doesn't take very long to change our minds on a topic if we're informed. But 90% of the people do not look beyond what they see in the news, or the soundbite they see on the Late Show, or whatever else it might be. And it's sad. It's really sad. In fact, it's pathetic. People, especially who make bold claims but have nothing to back it up, one of the things that's always amazed me, I guess, is that the people who are the loudest on the internet and out in public are the ones who are the least informed on topics. It's especially, telling when you've got a protest going on about something obscure and people are asked why they're there, and then they're asked questions about their own intentions and what they know about the topic, and they're just like clueless. Yeah, those are cherry picked a lot of the time, but not always. I mean, look, people want community. We want to be able to stand next to each other in solidarity. So imagine if instead of fighting about the truth, we acknowledged each other's truths. You know? Step back for a minute from our high horse and say, cool, you like this music and I like this music. You like this politician, I like this politician. You like cilantro, I think it tastes like absolute garbage. And God, I hate cilantro. Oh boy, don't ever give me cilantro. Point being, we're all different. And we need to celebrate those differences. We've been very distracted the last few years with trying to hide differences. This kind of joke of, I don't see color, or everyone's the same. We're not homogenized, okay? We're all different. It's always going to be that way. Most people want to be recognized for their difference from other people. Some people just want to be like everybody else. It's all personal choice, but ultimately, when you really break down truth and what you need, the truths you actually need, it's not about what you see on the news. It's not about what kind of facts you know that other people don't know. It's also not even about, any historical concept of spirituality or religion. It's about finding your own truth and making it work for you. Yeah, sounds cheesy. Don't give a fuck. It's truth. It's the truth about the truth that you need to find your own truth, okay? And don't mind what anybody else says. Fuck those people. And what I mean by those people are the haters, the people who doubt you, the people who make accusations or assumptions about you that they don't get. Don't try to defend yourself. It's not even worth it. Don't bother going out and forcing society to see things your way, especially, because that's control freak shit. You just got to think about it on your own terms. Do your own thing. Be your own person. That doesn't mean be yourself. I made this clear in a video the other day. That's a bullshit statement. People don't know what that means. Especially find yourself, that's complete bullshit. You don't find yourself. And you don't be yourself. You create yourself. You manufacture who you are as you live. And hopefully you create something good. Just be the best you can be and enjoy it. You'll make mistakes. We all do. But don't worry about the truth. You just got to find your own. It's not worth it to argue that you're right. I do it all the time. Don't get me wrong. I love a good argument. But people misunderstand. I like an argument because I am usually right. No, because I like to learn, from a discussion. That's what's important to me. And I feel like if I can push and prod, people, they'll give me their facts and figures, but it's crickets most of the time. So, yeah, we just do the best we can with what we've got. And, God, man, got to be able to just let shit go. I saw a post the other day. Somebody was asking what they'd rather see a video about. And one was about, like, having freedom. And another one was about having rights or something. And then another one was about emotional intelligence. And I voted, of course, for the emotional intelligence. And then I read through the comments. And most people were like, well, somebody said, I've heard if you have to have freedom first. And then you can develop an emotional awareness. I think they use the term, but it's emotional intelligence, same thing. And my response was, I disagree wholeheartedly. I think that it's the opposite, that we actually need to develop emotional intelligence first, and then that's what will bring us freedom, you see? Because Freedom is in here, obviously. And there are people in prison who feel free. There are people who are billionaires that feel like they're in prison. I'm sure this is just the world, the way it works. Mental aspect is everything. And yeah, the shit just makes you think, how quickly we can change our minds about what really matters. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. That's my podcast for the day. Thanks for watching and listening. If you're listening to the audio version, I appreciate you. And subscribe for more. I will have several more podcasts coming shortly. And if you're watching the video version, why aren't you listening to the audio version? 15-minute free thinking. But at the very minimum, hit the like button or thumbs up or whatever you've got on your end. And if you want to visit me on Patreon, do so for more shit. And I'll talk to y'all next time. Thanks again. Be well. Peace to you all.